writing directions. Switching gears, I'll change this screen. Get the right handout up for you. Nope. There. Sorry, I accidentally closed the file and I have to open it again. You can get it on your Chromebooks, though. It should be available now. It's how to write directions, I think, is what it's called. How to give directions. Okay, so we're going to get into instructional and descriptive writing. We're going to start with the simple thing, which is giving directions. That's something that I'm sure that you've all had to do before. Telling somebody how to get somewhere. Now, this is not something that we usually think about the format for. So what we're building towards is writing more complex instructions. You know, how to build something, how to assemble something, how to perform a more complex task. So giving directions for how to get somewhere is more straightforward. Your verbs are simpler, right? You're walking or you're driving. And you're turning, you know, and that's kind of it. So, like this, you've also probably been annoyed when trying to follow poorly explained directions. Being able to give accurate and clear directions is a very useful life and language skill. We all need to be able to explain how to get somewhere. So your assignment is going to be to explain how to get from here to the mezzanine fitness room, from here in this room. Yeah. Yes. So the things you need to keep in mind. Use the imperative form of the verb. Do you know what the imperative form of the verb is? Thank you for saying no, because we have a whole lot of people unwilling to say that yes they do or no they don't. So the imperative form is the form of a verb you use when you're giving orders, when you're telling someone what to do. So you know how most verbs need a subject, right? I walk. So I, subject, walk, verb, home, object, indirect object, walk to home, implied, whatever. That part's less important. So this is your usual subject, your usual sentence structure, subject, verb. Right? An imperative, we'll change colors, doesn't have a subject. So walk home. Right? That is a full sentence. Verb, object, no subject. So the subject is implied. The subject is inferred or hinted at. So it is you implied, right? If you're the one hearing this, walk home. Right? Makes sense? So that's the imperative. No subject. So you have heard directions given to you, no doubt, at some point in the form of, well, you want to take the 59 down to the, don't do that. We're not doing farmer directions here, we're doing official directions, right? We're doing the sort of directions that you could have a job writing. It is like, there are professional writers, many of them whose jobs it is to write instructions for how to operate your TV remote control or whatever, right? Whatever you buy, it always comes with instructions. Someone writes those. Someone's job is to write those. So that's what we're going to learn how to do. So we're starting with the simple stuff, not farmer directions. Sorry, Gavinator. Not saying farmer directions can't work. They can, but they're informal and there are no jobs to be had giving farmer directions. Use the imperative form of the verb as if you're ordering someone to do something. Go left, turn right, walk 100 meters. Now, I want to stress here, avoid vague verbs. Like go and what else? Do, not particular to giving directions, but giving instructions, which is a more complex form, or make, or things like that. You want to use more specific verbs. So you're going to want to continue, or walk, or drive, and you're going to want to give directions. Walk north, right? Or turn right, continue for 100 meters, right? These sorts of things, specific. Try to come up with ways to make your directions as specific as possible. Directions are presented chronologically. So, for example, well, it's in the order you're supposed to do the directions, the order you're supposed to do each step. This seems sort of obvious, but if you've got directions to something that are out of order, then it'll be like, oh, yeah, I should have turned back there and I missed it now, right? Imagine the route unfolding. Describe each step in logical, chronological order without leaving something important out. It is confusing for the listener if you interrupt yourself, as in this example. Oh wait, I forgot that there's a Y junction before that. They also include the location and or name or address of the starting point and of the destination. Give approximate distances when appropriate, as much as possible. So if you are giving directions in a town, in a community, it's Mr. Dykerman's birthday today, by the way. He just walked by. I gave him a golf trophy for his birthday. I went and put it in his room this morning. So he and I won the staff golf tournament last year, along with Mr. Desotel. So the trophy that had been sitting up there was our championship trophy. So I went and put it in his room this morning as a happy birthday. Anyways, okay. What was I talking about? Approximate distances when appropriate. If you're giving directions within a town, then what's an appropriate measure of distance? How far is it to Tim Hortons from here? What's a way that you could describe that distance that will make sense to people? Kilometers, maybe, but how far is 5 kilometers from here? I prefer the pronunciation kilometers, incidentally, but I'll go along with it. But I'm not dogmatic about it. So, if I said go 5 kilometers from here, that way, north, how far is that? No, that's my point. You have no idea. Maybe, depending on how much time you've spent thinking about these sorts of things and giving and receiving directions and trying to find places, you might have more or less idea how far 5 kilometers is, but is it to the highway? Is it to Kentucky Fried Chicken? Is it to Canadian Tire? Right? I don't know. So we need something better. Because if you say go 5 kilometers, that's okay if you're in a car and you can like watch the little odometer, right? The little dial turn, and you're like, okay, that's 1. But how many of you have ever watched that while you're driving? Trying to find farms?
No.
No?
My buddy's place.
Oh, okay. So if you're following directions and trying to, is it really safe though to be like trying to watch that while you're driving? Same as looking at your speed? Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
I usually use miles, so it's a lot easier.
Use miles in the country?
Yeah.
Why is it easier?
Because let's say gravel road has a certain mile road. So like
Yeah.
I live on 28 East Mile Road, 28 East, and 31 North.
So you
Two
can,
different mile roads.
yeah, so you can count the roads and you
Yeah.
know how many miles you've gone in the country,
Yep.
right? And so that makes sense if you're navigating country roads. So which is actually the next question I was going to ask. So our speedometers on our vehicles will say kilometers, but if you're navigating country roads, then you're going to be sort of counting those roads in order to know, oh, I go 2 miles and then turn left. Well, how far is 2 miles? It's 2 roads, right? Gravel roads, grid roads. So, but in town, is there a unit of measurement that we can use? Blocks, yeah. How many blocks is it from here to Tim Hortons? Does everybody have a clear picture of what 2 blocks looks like? No? Okay. Well, then this is a discussion that we should have. So a block is the distance between 2 streets. Now, is that always the same? No. So you'll have, I don't want to move all these books. So you can have streets that are kind of these are all filled with buildings and houses and things like that. So the streets are the red. Okay? So this is 1 block. This is 2 blocks. Okay? But this is also 1 block. and this is 2 blocks. Much shorter distance, but still considered a block. So block is not a firm term for distance, but it's very, very reliable. You count how many cross streets you pass. The first cross street is 1 block. The next cross street is 2 blocks. Right? It's pretty foolproof.
Can you also do a set of lights?
You can also count stoplights, yeah. You can also count stoplights, but what I have found is like that's effective, but slightly less reliable. Because if I said, if we get on,
Highway 12.
thank you, Highway 12. We get on Highway 12 here and we drive to Canadian Tire. How many sets of lights do we go through?
3, 4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. 3 or 4. Yeah, something like that. So I agree. And I don't know the right answer to that off the top of my head either.
It's 5.
Alex is pretty sure there's 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, so this is the thing. If you're giving instructions from your memory, you can't count on it to be 100% reliable in terms of how many lights there are.
Wouldn't the same thing go for blocks though?
Can we, yeah.
Wouldn't the same thing go for blocks though?
Yeah.
Probably. Probably.
Then we should just say go straight until we see Canadian Tire.
Yeah. That's how I give directions.
Yeah.
Okay, so another good point, and we're coming to that.
Like you can see it easily.
Landmarks. Those are called landmarks, not the town, but these are called landmarks. So if you're saying you want to get to Canadian Tire, you're going to pass A&W on your right, you're going to pass Kentucky Fried Chicken on your left, you're going to pass Salisbury House on your right. Like restaurants, chain restaurants are always good landmarks, right? Because everyone always, oh yeah, I know where A&W is, right? So things like that, things that are hard to miss, you should always give landmarks along the way, because how many of you have ever been in the situation where you don't know if you've gone too far yet? Yeah. Yeah, you don't know if you've gone too far yet because no one gave you landmarks and you're like, am I supposed to be passing a golf driving range right now? Like nobody said anything about that. Maybe I've gone way too far. So landmarks important. As much as it is possible, try to be accurate about, so it's not impossible for you to look up exactly how many blocks it would be to something. You can look that up fairly easily on Google Maps. Looking up how many lights, how many traffic lights you would go through is a lot more difficult. It is probably possible, but it's a lot more difficult. So if you're going to use traffic lights, you need to make sure that you're exactly right. The other thing about that is traffic lights kind of come and go. Maybe they don't go so much. Traffic lights don't often disappear, but new traffic lights appear. Right? So on Highway 59 by the Timber Falls, there's lights there now. 52, sorry. What did I say? 59. Okay, sorry. Well, I know that. I drive 59 to 52 every day, and then they're just like 59, 52, 59, 52 in my head. Anyways, so 52, there is lights that are new this year, I want to say.
Mitchell, those lights just there.
Yeah, there's new lights in Mitchell as well, in the middle of town. Now, if you were to look up on Google Maps, looking for traffic lights, there's probably a way that you can get it to tell you where traffic lights are, but how up to date is it? Do they have the new lights by the Timber Falls gas station? Do they have the new lights in Mitchell? I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. So blocks, however, are much less likely to change. Right? If you look at the map and you count these things, these are going to be the same. Maybe the buildings on them will have changed. It's since the last time Google surveyed us or whatever, but there's still going to be the same number of blocks there. So what about inside of a building like this one? If you want to give instructions inside of a building, what's a good unit of measurement? We're not using blocks. We're not using kilometers.
Classes.
We could use feet.
Classes, meters.
Classes is good. Classes is good. Now, what's feet is a little bit small.
Meters.
Meters or yards, which is about the same thing, right? Meters or yards is pretty good. And do you know why?
Because while you can count them, let's say,
You can count them while
you
you're-
are going.
Right. So while you're walking, you can say like 1, 2, each step should be about a meter, about a yard, unless you're particularly short or particularly tall. But you're not giving precise distances anyways. But if you're counting the number of steps, that should give you a reasonable approximation of the number of yards it is. So classes in a school, classes is helpful. You can count how many classrooms you pass, or in any other building, how many rooms you pass, how many doors you pass, right? So again, the distances aren't going to always be the same, but you can count doors, regardless of if they're evenly spaced out. You can still count them, right? So that is a helpful way to give directions. Now, inside of a building or in a situation outside on streets where it's not even square rectangular blocks like this, we need to know what we're going to see, what choices we're going to have to make. So if you just tell me, so don't say go straight, say continue instead. But if you tell me to turn right at the water fountain there and then continue until I get to the stairs, then I don't understand what, all of a sudden I'm in this big atrium out there and I'm like, well, nobody said anything about this. And now I don't know what I'm missing, what I should be looking for. So make sure that the person following your instructions knows what they're going to see more or less at each step of the way. So you don't have to say the name of every classroom you're going to pass, but it's helpful to know how many of them. And if you cross any other hallways, then that should be pointed out as well. Or you go through something like the edge of the, what do they call that? Do they call that an atrium? What do we call it? I don't know, the big open area out there between the learning commons and the other thing I don't know the word for, the kiosk. So maybe the whole area is called the learning commons, I don't know. But, so here's the thing. The instructions that you're giving to somebody for this assignment are going to be to give to somebody who has never been in this building before. So you can't say, oh, do you know where Mr. Greenstone's room is? They don't know. Oh, you know where the 910 office is? They don't know. Right? And they don't know what that thing is called either, especially considering that I don't even know what that big room is called. What's that? That, yeah. The high roof thing, yeah. So describe it in some way, but giving it a name is not helpful unless the name is very descriptive. So I use the word atrium because that's a word for a high-roofed, a high-ceilinged place that has a lot of windows usually. And so that kind of describes that. I don't know if anyone calls it atrium except for me, but if you know what that word means, then you would recognize it when you walked through it. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, so anyways, what was I going to say about that?
Are we gonna do the directions from here to the mess?
We're going to do directions from here to the mez. So what you're imagining, here's the situation. Somebody has wandered into the school, and let's pretend that that's possible. It's not right now, but let's pretend that that's possible. Somebody's wandered into the school, and because my room is about the first one they would come to, if depending on which way they went when they came through the doors, they just stumbled in here and said, hey, I'm supposed to be meeting somebody in the mezzanine fitness room. Can you tell me how to get there? Now, that's the situation. This person has never been in this building before. They don't know where anything is. So you're going to need to describe to them what they're going to see between here. Now, how many ways are there to get to the mezzanine fitness room from here? There's a few. There's a few. There's 3 entrances to that room, right? And then there's the entrance from inside the lower gym on the other side, and then there's an entrance from either this hallway or the hairstyling hallway.
There's also a way to get into in the gold gym and that bike.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to describe. The first, yeah, I don't have a better word for it either. The in the gold gym, the bike area in the back of that, there's a staircase that goes up to the mez. But whatever, it doesn't matter which way you want to tell this person to get there, because the mez is going to be locked anyways. But let's pretend that it's not. I could have said give instructions for how to get to, Mr. Ray's math classroom on the other side, and that would have been a lot more complicated. But I thought that this is enough. This is enough, and trust me, if you try to think through each step, describe each step clearly and accurately, you're going to end up with somewhere between 10 and 20 steps, which is the goal for the assignment. Yeah, Omar?
Can I use you? Let's say continue, turn left and continue for 10 meters, and you will see, let's say, door, like a black door on the left.
Yes, you can, in that context, you can use you. Alternatively, though, you can still use an imperative there. So instead of saying you will see, say notice a door on your left, or pass a door on your right, or pass, or something like that. So then it's still imperative. But it's okay in that context to use you, yeah. What else did I want to say? I got a great story about this assignment. So my story about this assignment is the first time that I gave it, and I'm telling you this story for a specific reason so that Gavin can't steal the idea, because he would, and I would like it. No, just wait, you're gonna like this. So here's what a kid did. First year I gave this assignment. They said, Mr. Grunrud, I can do this in 2 steps, foolproof. Foolproof, there's no way you can miss it or go wrong. 2 steps. And I was like, you can't do that, man. And he's like, I'm telling you I can. I said, okay, do it, write it. So the kid wrote, well, I don't have to write it down, I'll just tell you. The kid wrote, step 1, find someone who you consider to be attractive. Step 2, ask that person to take you to the mezzanine fitness room. I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I had to give the kid full marks for that. So then I had to put in the stipulation, all right, you need at least 10 steps, and you can't use the, ask for directions cop-out. Or ask somebody attractive to escort you. But I appreciated it. And I thought you'd like that too. It's smart. And I said, I like the way you think.
Simple.
Simple, yeah. Simple, foolproof. But again, no jobs in writing those kind of directions, right? Although maybe you can have a YouTube channel. The answer is always find someone you consider to be attractive and ask them, because now you have an excuse to talk to somebody you consider to be attractive. So, yeah. Okay, so questions about that? All right. Start in this room. So I would recommend that your first step say something like facing Mr. Grunerud's door. Right? So that you know which way the person that you are giving directions to is facing at every step. So you're going to tell them turning. So outside, generally the best thing to do is give directions in terms of north, south, east, west. Inside, you can still do that, but not everyone will get it. In fact, not everyone will get north, south, east, west. My wife never does.
I don't know where's northwest.
Okay, so it's something that takes a while getting accustomed to a place before you can feel comfortable with that. But in any case, indoors you can use left and right, but it's trickier because those things become relative, right? North is always north regardless. But right is relative depending on which way you're facing. So you have to make sure that you're keeping those steps really clear in your head. Does that make sense? Okay, give it a try.